We are live, and welcome to The Good, the Bad, and the Podcast, the show where we take a given movie genre and we explore those good titles, those bad titles, and those ugly titles that make you want to jump into a volcano. Hey everyone, I am Mark.
Hey, I'm Kelly.
And I'm Charles. And I have no idea. I have no idea who's introing Mike here. This is our special guest, I think the last time
Who is that guy?
The last time he was on, he did Tarantino movies. Was that your last topic you picked?
That is fair. I guess that was before we did the Star Wars thing before The Force Awakens came out.
Yeah.
But I don't remember when that was in the timeline. I think that may have been the last time I was officially on the podcast.
Tarantino.
It's been too long.
Inglourious Basterds was your ugly pick. I can't get over that. I'm sorry.
I still agree with you. It's fine.
You still wake up.
Yeah, I still do cold sweats every night. Yes, I do. And so we were talking earlier. We need to clarify tonight's topic: Tom Hanks comedies, not all of Tom Hanks movies. Because I mean, either way, Dr. Mike is wrong on this. I just want to throw that out there. But this is, I was saying that I have no idea which movie is which on this list. I don't know, Mark and Kelly, if you feel the same way, but
I feel like I know. Yeah, I feel like I know.
We shall see.
Mark, do you?
So
I'm pretty confident too. I don't know. Yeah, I'm pretty confident.
Okay, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm way
You
off
want me
here.
to?
Yeah, go ahead, Mark. Which one do you think is good, bad, ugly? Same for you, Kelly, and I'll say what.
So
I'm
gonna say Joe versus the Volcano is ugly. Bonfire of the Vanities is bad, and That Thing You Do is good.
I agree.
Well, it's hard because I don't really like any of these movies. But I would say, I guess I'll agree with that. I might flip Bonfire and Joe, but I'm gonna put Joe as ugly. But anyway, it's a interesting period. Out of all the Tom Hanks comedies, like Big or Splash or okay. Anyway, all right. But I was also gonna first thing I was gonna say was it is Harry Potter's birthday today. I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. Everybody knows. He would be 39 today. And it's also, it's the J.K. Rowling, it's her birthday as well. She gave Harry Potter her birthday. So I was just we did a recent episode where we talked about the last Harry Potter. So I thought it'd be cool if we just showed the trailer for the original Harry Potter. So here we go.
Did you ever make anything happen? Anything you couldn't explain? You're a wizard, Harry.
I'm a what? Dear Mr. Potter, we are pleased to inform you that you have been accepted at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry.
In a few moments, you will pass through these doors and join your classmates.
Keep an eye on the staircases. They like to change.
Good afternoon, class. Welcome to your first flying lesson. Stick your right hand over the broom and say up. Wow. Mr. Longbottom, Mr. Longbottom, Mr. Longbottom, exactly where do you think you're going?
Do you really have the... Oh. Wicked.
Mr. Potter, our new celebrity. First years should note that the Dark Forest is strictly forbidden, that no magic is to be used between the classes in the corridors.
Petrificus totalis.
The third floor corridor is out of bounds to everyone who does not wish to suffer a most painful death.
Understand this, Harry, because it's very important. Not all wizards are good.
I'm going to bed before either of you come up with another clever idea to get us killed. Or worse, expelled. She needs to sort out her priorities.
I think it is clear that we can expect great things from you.
right. So, was there anything you wanted to... Any reason you picked this, Mike? Did you...
Yeah, so Charles and I were talking about... Charles was inviting me back on the podcast, and we were kind of trying to decide what theme. And I think it was back in June, and we originally talked about... I said, well, maybe we'll do Pixar movies. And he reminded me that they've already done Pixar movies, and I'd totally forgotten because Toy Story 4 was coming out. And I think Charles said, well, what do you think about doing Tom Hanks movies? And I decided to sort of narrow it down and just do Tom Hanks comedies because he's done so many great movies, and a lot of his dramas are really, really outstanding. And I feel like it's almost a disservice to him to try to pick Saving Private Ryan over Philadelphia or Forrest Gump or Apollo 13 or some of these movies I've seen, dozens of times. And so I sort of settled on the comedies. And like I said, there are a lot of really great ones to choose from there. Splash and Big, and some that I had never seen. I went back and watched, some that I really love, like You've Got Mail. Some that are really popular, like Sleepless in Seattle, that I'm not a big fan of. And I actually was kind of, I know, it's an unpopular opinion. It puts me to sleep every time, whether I'm in Seattle or elsewhere. Wow. But it's interesting because one of these movies, Joe versus Volcano, is sort of the forgotten Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan movie. Yeah. So we can kind of cover that too. But I watched some movies I had never seen. I had never seen The Burbs, which I didn't like. I had never seen Turner and Hooch, which I surprisingly did. I typically don't like dog movies, but that was pretty good.
I love that movie as a kid.
The Money Pit is one of my favorite kind of zany comedies, and he's really funny in that with Shelley Long. So there were a lot of good movies to choose from, and a lot of sort of not so great movies, especially early on in his filmmaking career.
When we realized I realized this kind of a happy coincidence. It actually, his birthday is in July. It's July 9th, I think. So like we can say, oh yeah, it's perfect. Tom Hanks movies for his birthday. Because he's one of the actors.
Birthday, Tom.
He's one of the actors that we've actually talked about. Kelly and I have talked about maybe doing like a spotlight on him, kind of like what we did with Clint Eastwood. So it's kind of cool that we're doing this one now. But okay.
Well, and it's really interesting. It's really interesting because he started out as a comedian and did a lot of comedy. And most of his early films were straight comedies. And lately, he's done more and more serious drama, and of course gotten Best Actor for Philadelphia and Forrest Gump 2 years in a row, and just had a tremendous career. Really a big pivot from his comedy background to his dramatic career, and I thought it'd be fun to kind of look at his comedies, which, as I said, are a little more hit and miss than his dramas.
Okay,
I'd agree with that.
So the first movie, going chronologically, is The Bonfire of the Vanities.
Okay.
You guys are correct. Actually, I think that's Bonfire of the Vanities and Joe versus the Volcano were both released the same year. Mm-hmm. And Joe versus the Volcano may have come out earlier that year. That was 1990. So we can start with that one.
Okay.
You want me to give the synopsis and then play the trailer?
Yeah, do the synopsis and I'll have it ready for you.
Okay, so when hypochondriac Joe, played by Tom Hanks, learns that he is dying of a mysterious disease, he offers to travel to a tropical island whose natives need a human sacrifice to appease their volcano god. On his way there, Joe falls in love with Patricia, played by Meg Ryan. The two bravely face their destiny.
All right, and here's the trailer.
Once upon a time, in the middle of a deep, dark factory, an average Joe,
Joe Banks,
lived a very boring life.
Good morning, Dee Dee.
Hi, Joe. What's with the shoe?
Losing my soul.
Yeah.
Until one day, he found out his life was over.
I'm not sick except for this terminal disease.
That's right. You have some time left, Mr. Banks. Live it well.
And that's
Joe Banks?
When his adventure began.
You and I might be able to help each other. I want to hire you to jump into a volcano. situation. It's wine, women, and song in the sweetest little paradise you ever saw. A real journey.
Are you Joe Banks?
Yeah.
But this is the one movie, by the way, that like I have no idea which one this is the one that confuses me the most because
really
this could be your good, bad, or ugly. Like I seriously don't know.
No.
So.
In the story of a man, a mountain, and a miracle.
Take me to the volcano!
He's diving! He's jumping! He's leaping!
Written and directed by John Patrick Shanley, the Academy Award-winning writer of Moonstruck.
I love you.
I love you too. I've never been in love with anybody before either. It's great. I am glad. But the timing stinks. I gotta go.
Joe versus the Volcano.
So, you guys all correctly guessed that this is my ugly pick.
Yes.
This is a movie that is it's quirky, and the characters are really kind of strange, all very cartoonish. He goes through this transformation from this depressed office drone to somebody who embraces life and is supposed to be, sort of having this blossoming of his personality in his life. But I always feel like when I watch this movie, that transformation is very sudden. He sort of turns on a dime. It's not really motivated by anything. There's nothing that teaches him to enjoy life. There's no motivation for him to start struggling against adversity and sort of just giving into it. There's that scene early on where he sort of snaps and tells his boss off and quits his job. But it never really feels real to me. Nothing in this movie is very realistic. It's all very cartoonish and weird. And the cartoonishness is fun, but it always feels very on the nose, very, very contrived in a way. Meg Ryan is hilarious. She's got these three very different roles. She plays three completely unrelated, unconnected women, except two of the women are half-sisters or step-sisters, or I can't remember. But I don't know why they had her play these three women, because it makes you think that, there's some connection between them, and they never really explain what that is. Is this some sort of metaphysical symbolism that these are all three different aspects of the same woman? Are these three different aspects of Joe's psyche? I feel like there's a meaning there, and I can't figure out what it is. And so that's what makes this movie, it's really interesting at times, and it's just really awkward at times. And I don't know, I always like it, and when it's over, I'm like, okay, that was a strange 90 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you guys think of this one?
I always took them. I for some reason it cracks me up that Meg Ryan plays all three of those characters, and I could not stop laughing about her voice and her characterization of the middle one. The red-haired one. Like, I cannot understand why she did that like that, but it just. I'm
a flubberty gibbet.
Yes, and the poem that
I think she was going for like a smoky, smoldering voice, and it didn't pull it off.
But it was like, it seemed like maybe the thing was destiny. It was all her. Like, he was seeing her again and again in various reincarnated forms, and they were meant to be together. Is how I read it.
And I like the joke that he's like, I feel like I've seen you before, have I not?
Right. I like this movie. I mean, it's ugly to me, I think, because it is a little kooky and strange, but it has a certain charm about it, and I sort of like the style. It's almost, you said cartoonish, and I definitely agree with that. But there's times when it felt almost Tim Burton-y, like it was stylized.
That's exactly the idea I got too. Or like Spike Jonze, like being John Malkovich, kind of a really surreal, odd stuff going on. Yeah, not to that level. Like I don't think it works on that level. But I could see what they were going for, right? Like, the very like dystopian, futuristic beginning to it.
Well, okay, man.
At the beginning, when they're all working in the factory and everything, it's, completely.
It does. Yeah.
I completely. To me, this is the perfect, like, quintessential ugly movie, right? Because it's enjoyable for the quirks of it and the stylized. I like a lot of the colors they used with the sets. If you look at some of the when he goes into the apartment, all the windows are a different color, and the skyline is a different color when he's first with Meg. So I enjoyed this movie as an ugly movie. Yeah, I agree with the pick.
Yeah.
What do you think, Charles? You can't.
I love this movie. Like, it's my favorite movie.
God.
No, I don't. I really don't. Well, so like I said, I had decent memories of it. I didn't think it was, and everybody talks about it like they like it a lot. So then I rewatched it for this, and I never got into the style and and it is, like you say, it is a very specific thing. So there's reasons for it. Obviously, like they're not doing these choices just willy-nilly. Like, but even the acting choices are bizarre. Like you say, the Meg Ryan and her bizarre accents. But Tom Hanks even was like so crazy and over the top, and Lloyd Bridges. And then you have Nathan Lane and I'm forgetting the older guy that was also part of the native tribe.
Who was Nathan Lane? Was Nathan Lane the chief?
No, Abe Vigoda Abe Vigoda was, and then Nathan Lane was also one of the top chiefs in it, but not the main one.
I didn't notice that.
And so it's just a bizarre.
I didn't recognize him.
It's a bizarre. I'm 99% sure, but yeah, it's a bizarre thing, and I don't even know how well that plays in today's culture. That's kind of bizarre, weird, but
the whole.
I think the first half is better. Like I'll agree, Mark. I wasn't thinking of it as dystopian, but it is. I was thinking more like Great Depression era. Like I thought they were trying to evoke kind of that style. But you're right. That is like a dystopian thing, especially when he goes in, the lights are flickering and all that. I like that part of the movie, and I like the setup, and I like when he goes against new stuff. But then I feel like the second half goes into more of a whimsical, really silly thing, especially when he's fishing and he pulls up the hammerhead shark. Like so like for me, the first half I could I was like, okay, this is way different than I remember, but it's pretty cool. And the second half just weird. But I was also saying that my wife, she grew up watching this movie and had really fond memories of it, and like really thinks it's hilarious. And that actually reminded me of how you and me met, Mark. How we, with the luggage store, you were trying to sell me a really expensive set of luggage that I didn't need, but. I don't even remember why you were working at the time, but I guess there's a weird period in your life, I guess. But
you needed that luggage. I mean, it changed your life, man.
Well, yeah, but
it saved your life. It saved you.
Well, I'm glad we kept in touch. I had no idea you liked movies. We'd be talking about it one day. Yeah. But anyway, it did save my life. You are right. That's another story. Another time, tell for another time. But yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if it's just the people have a weird nostalgia about this movie, or if I don't know. But I the way you described it, I agree with you that it's a good ugly for this. But having heard all the love for it, I was like, man, maybe this is a movie he loved 30 years ago, and now it's like, it's now he's like this is top Tom Hanks comedy. I could see it that way.
Well, it's interesting because I always think of this as a, I think of it fondly, and I'm like, oh yeah, Joe versus the Volcano. That's a really strange movie. And you go back and watch it, like, yeah, I'm not sure it's a strange good, though. It's just sort of strange.
Right.
Yeah.
Once every 10 years is probably enough. And then I'm good for another decade.
Yeah. There's some of the things that I like the most about it don't feel like they belong in the same movie. Like I like the stylized thing, like we were talking about, but I also really like some of the scenes that are more evocative of a Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan movie. Like they just have such good chemistry together. And that scene where on the boat where she first is like, I'm sorry I was so rude to you, and kind of describing her situation and asking about his, like that was really a pretty moving scene, but it didn't feel like it belonged in this movie, but I loved it. And I'm glad it was in there because I feel like it made me like it more, but I don't know. I couldn't reconcile the two, like the sincere and the stylized and the goofy and the serious. And
that's kind of where I'm at too with it. But I do wonder if, again, was all this intentional and meant to be that way, or is it more kind of a matter of tone, because I did read that they had to change the ending on it. So we kind of got the happy ending, where I guess all of the natives died. I don't know. And I was
gonna say, was the original ending that he jumps in the volcano and dies? Because that would be
I think they still survive. I was reading about that they survived, but that they because the
had severe third-degree burns.
What's the name? What's the name of her ship?
The Tweedledee.
So there's apparently a Tweedledum, and then so in the original ending, the father shows up on the Tweedledum, and like they, that's where they discover, he's the one behind all of it and set him up and all of that. So, but they said originally it was more like that, and they leave the father at sea and sail off on the other ship that wasn't destroyed.
Oh wow.
That makes sense.
And apparently it was too bleak leaving the father at sea, so they made it more, I don't know.
Whimsical.
Yeah.
Well, and the ending to me is so unsatisfying. It's just, we're off the island. Oh, there's the luggage.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to sail off into the sunset, and there's no resolution. And again, it fits perfectly with the weirdness of the movie that they've done so far, but it just leaves me.
Would the original ending have worked better for you
else.
then? Would that have been better if you'd have seen? Because they at least had, because that's the reason they named the ship the way they did. But again, to me, the killing off all the natives, like that seems kind of interesting either way.
Yeah. Yeah.
To be honest, I'm with you. I like the first half better, and then once they get to the island, I'm pretty much ready for it to be done. I'm like, how much longer is this turkey going to go on?
Yeah.
It seems to get goofier and goofier as it goes on too. Whereas I actually really like the scene where he tells off his boss. Like I don't know. It reminded me of like of other like dramatic movies where a worker just snaps, like falling down or something like that. So
yeah.
Anyway, cool. You guys
all right, I was gonna say.
Oh,
I was gonna one last thing. The director, the only thing he's directed since is the movie Doubt, 2008, that won a bunch of awards.
That's a really good movie.
Meryl Streep. Yeah, I know. He's written a bunch of stuff. He wrote Congo, and he wrote what's his name, John Patrick Shanley.
Congo.
So anyway, just kind of interesting that he hasn't directed.
That would have been a really good. Maybe that gives me an idea for Michael Crichton movies. So we'll see.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna do it.
Go for it. But you got to put Congo on the list.
I already got my next picks.
Well, I do too, and I got to make up. Anyway, I've got that one that I skipped over to do the other one, so I've got a bunch.
We should steal Kelly's picks again and do Michael Crichton. Just kidding, Kelly.
Gah.
Well, actually, we do have. We'll get to that with the discussion because I didn't know if we're switching things around. All right, do you guys want to move on to the... Oh, crap, I can't hear you. Well, do you guys want to move on to the next one while I'm fixing this issue? Hold on. Hold that thought 1 second.
Should we move on or should you fix the issue?
Talk amongst yourself.
Since we're off the clock here, I thought it was really interesting in Joe versus the Volcano. You said something about how it feels very like the Depression or something, and there are some things where the fact that at the beginning he's wearing the fedora, and there's just some costume design things, and you're like, what era is this?
Yeah.
Where is it people wear a suit to go to that kind of factory?
Right.
There's stuff that's sort of timeless, and I think that is part of what I was sort of perceiving as a cartoonish thing. It's like this is sort of set in its own time, and it doesn't really exist anywhere else.
I'm back.
It makes it more surreal.
That's
okay.
True.
All right. So, which one's the next one? The Bonfire of the Vanities.
The next movie is Bonfire of the Vanities, also released in 1990. So the synopsis here: Tom Hanks stars as Sherman McCoy, a wealthy Wall Street investor whose life takes a dark turn when his mistress, Melanie Griffith, hits a black youth with his car. When tabloid journalist Peter Fallow, Bruce Willis, gets wind of the situation, he turns it into front-page news, inciting a racial incident in this game of dog eat dog.
All right, and here's the trailer.
Okay. Here we go. My name is Peter Fallow, the man of the moment, a toast of the town. But it wasn't always this way. Let me tell you how it all began. In the 80s, making money and living well was all that mattered. And no one did it better than Sherman McCoy. Now he was a master of the universe.
Calm, sorry, collated. Let's not lose our composure over a few $100 million.
No one could resist him. Not his mistress.
This could be the best sex I've had in a long time.
Not even his dog.
It's raining and he's not happy about it, Mr. McCoy.
Neither am I, Bill.
I, on the other hand, was a reporter in need of a story.
This is Peter Fallow, the has-been.
Oh, Shantae.
In need of a spark. Which is exactly what I got.
It's a body.
It looks like...
It's an animal.
No. I think
Is it dead?
It's a tire.
It's a
That's
dead
all.
tire?
I turned that spark into a flame.
Hello, Peter. I think there's a hell of a story.
We're investigating an automobile accident.
Yeah, on television. Last night, my wife, we said, well, we have a... Good Lord, we have a Mercedes.
Mr. McCoy, is there something you want to tell us?
And the flame spread. Did you say Henry Lamb was an honor student?
Good doesn't really apply at Rupert High. They're either cooperative or life-threatening.
Nothing is going to come of that little newspaper article.
Look at him. There he is, Miss McCoy.
Absolutely nothing.
I'm going to jail.
And suddenly, I was the guy who had everything. Hey, when opportunity knocks, someone's got to answer the door.
I want to see the truth come out and burn every one of them, and there's only one way to do that.
What's that?
Lie.
So once again, everyone was correct. This is my ugly pick. I just felt this is one of those movies I had never.
Wait, you're bad
seen.
or you're ugly?
Oh, I'm sorry. It is ugly, but this is my bad pick.
Oh,
sorry.
Okay.
This is my bad pick because this movie I felt was just incredibly boring. None of these characters were sympathetic or interesting to me. Tom Hanks' character is sort of the central character. He's sort of an anti-hero. He's a sleazy, greedy New York City stockbroker type. He's cheating on his wife. He has this opportunity when he and his girlfriend run over this kid, and they didn't kill him, but they sort of make him critically ill because they hit him with their car. And instead of doing the right thing, he starts acting out of self-interest and self-preservation. So there's really nothing to like about Tom Hanks. He's sort of spun to be the victim here because at some point he wants to do the right thing, but he never really chooses to do so unless he can throw Melanie Griffith under the bus. Bruce Willis' character, he sort of comes off as this opportunist who's exploiting the black community to further his own career. The long opening shot with him is really interesting, but he's this self-centered, self-indulgent celebrity drunk, and he's not anybody you want to really pull for. Melanie Griffith is conniving and unscrupulous and just generally unpleasant. There's nothing to root for. I don't find myself rooting for any of these characters. I don't find myself invested in any of these characters. I get that it's supposed to be satire. I get that it's supposed to be sort of a dark comedy, but to me, none of it was funny at all. The movie wasn't entertaining. It was not enjoyable. There was just nothing to ever make me want to watch this again. I had to finish it for the sake of this podcast, but if I didn't have this podcast, I would have turned it off after about 30 minutes and never thought twice about it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree. You called it boring. I wouldn't quite call it boring because a lot happens to this guy that you're wondering how it's going to turn out. But everything else you said I would agree with. And you mentioned he's a sleazy, Wall Street guy, but then they try to make him more relatable by giving him these morals, and he really wants to tell the police at first, and the girl convinces him not to. But I'm like, wait, I thought he was supposed to be the sleazy Wall Street guy. Why are you suddenly switching for him being in the hero? And at the end, Bruce Willis calls him the hero of the story. And I'm like, really? He's the hero? I don't know.
He's the real McCoy.
I couldn't understand the moral of the movie. Like, I couldn't understand what I was supposed to take away from this movie because everybody, the black community comes off as opportunistic. Bruce Willis comes off as opportunistic. Tom Hanks comes off as, blundering and an idiot. And the Griffith is, the same. So it's just a weird movie. It makes me want to read the book because obviously it was popular and I want to know did the writer pull it.
I didn't know, this is one of the ones I was sure it'd be an ugly or a bad. That's another reason I was confused because I was like, okay, which one is it going to be? Because they're there are aspects I liked about it. Like you mentioned that long shot. I thought that was really cool. Brian De Palma does those kind of shots a lot. Even in that movie Sisters that we watched, Kelly. And but to me, it's kind of an interesting, you say, satire and just a look at race in general. And it seemed to be, the message I took was that everybody is exploiting this racial issue for their own purposes. Everybody. It seemed to basically point fingers in every direction. And so that was kind of interesting, especially, you know, and they were like more blatant in the way they would say things than in real life, obviously. So I thought that was interesting, but again, it is really slow. It's really boring, and the characters never come across as real. It's another one of those where the acting is very bizarre, but I feel like that was intentional. You know? So, so like I said, there were parts of it that I really enjoyed, and I liked Morgan Freeman's character. I didn't really like his speech at the end. It felt a little too, I don't know, it was just kind of bizarre.
Didactic.
Yeah, something like that.
Preachy.
Yeah. So, but Tom Hanks was actually my least favorite part of the movie, which is odd to say. So, and Kim Cattrall, I just didn't like her character at all.
Well, Tom Hanks gets a lot of flack for this not being cast well in this role, but I thought Bruce Willis was worsely cast. I just didn't like him.
This is kind of in that period, like after Moonlighting, where he was Die Hard and Moonlighting still, and so it's kind of like he was in that period where he was kind of doing these goofier comedies. So.
Oh, and by the way, Kelly will especially like this. Clifton James was in this movie, who you'll also know as Sheriff Pepper from the James Bond franchise.
Oh my!
He was one of the buddies with the black preacher who, if you go back and look at it, that's. Anyway.
I hate him so much.
I was looking through IMDb, and I noticed, of course, his picture on IMDb is Sergeant Pepper from the Bond.
Of course.
Well, and that reminds me, actually, I should have said this at the beginning. We are kind of behind on posting our episodes, so we haven't posted the latest Bond episode, or the latest Good Bad Podcast episode, or the special edition where we reviewed Endgame, or the special edition where we reviewed Captain Marvel. So we're way behind.
We're on fire, guys.
I got the LGBT
stuff.
one up because I wanted it to be posted in June, so I got it like on the last day of June. But
we're really rewarding the Facebook Live listeners.
It was like happy Pride Month on the last remaining day.
Yeah.
So, but
that still counts.
We're way behind. But there's been a lot of stuff happening, so But anyway, so yes, we are way behind.
Yeah. I would just like to say I didn't like this movie for all the reasons you've listed and more. Melanie Griffith, I just wanted to punch her in the face. She, as so often is the case, she did a true disservice to Southern people with her accent. I mean, I guess it wasn't all her fault. It was the way the character was written. Although I did chuckle a little bit. Okay. Somebody help me out here. There's a term for when, like, her little misspeakings that she does. Like when she says spasmodically instead of sporadically. But
malapropism.
Yes, malapropisms. Okay, those I did laugh a little bit at those, I must say. That was probably the only thing in the movie that made me laugh.
Something that occurred to me is if you wanted to make Tom Hanks a hero, you could easily do it by taking out the affair and having the wife be with him in the car. Yeah. And then, because you could have a sleazy Wall Street guy still be the hero of a story. Just, making a lot of money doesn't make you evil necessarily. Right. But the fact that he had an affair kind of just kills it for us. I don't know. Anyway.
Although I will say that the one scene I really, really enjoyed was the scene where we're introduced to Tom Hanks, where he's going off into the rain to call his mistress, and he accidentally calls his wife, and she instantly recognizes his voice and just is livid with him, and that was, I don't know, that one scene I think was well written and well done, but then it was kind of downhill from there.
Well, but it also makes him out to be the sleazebag, so it's like hard to recover from that.
Right.
And actually, I did have a question. Speaking of the hit and run incident, so like I'm sure they left it ambiguous, but did they really show the other guy like what happened? I couldn't really tell what happened or how much he was hurt, or or even were they actually going to rob them? Like, did it?
Yeah, it was very ambiguous. I got the impression that you were supposed to think that they were going to be mugged, but it wasn't super clear. And I don't know if that was intentional or what.
And I kept thinking, okay, well, since they didn't really show it, I kept thinking someone's going to be proven wrong. Either they're going to show that they didn't really hit him, or they're going to show that they weren't really trying to mug him, and it was all a misunderstanding based on race. But they never really did that, so...
It was pretty clear that he was trying to get in the window and yelling at her to roll the window down and chasing after the car, that they wanted to mug them. I mean, what else would they have been doing at that point?
He also, I don't know. The friend had also been hit at that point, right? I don't know.
No.
The biggest giveaway to me was when he was kind of like reaching into his coat for something. And it's like, well, okay, he could have been. I thought they were going to do a reveal at the end. He was reaching for something else, or I don't know, but they didn't really go
like
back
a Bible
to it. So.
or a
or
some Tic Tacs,
or a cigarette or something. Seriously, like it could have been anything. But they didn't show it. So anyway, all right, but I'm ready to move on if you guys are.
Sure.
For our last movie, which is going to be your good.
All right. Our final movie, my good pick, That Thing You Do from 1996. So the synopsis, don't shake your head, Charles. So the synopsis, in 1964, teenage garage band The Wonders become an overnight sensation when their debut song jumps to the top of the charts. But internal tensions threaten to make the groups fall just as rapid as their rise.
All right, here we go.
Guy Patterson didn't have a perfect job or a perfect social life.
What's going on down there?
Cooking the books as usual, Dad.
But what he did have was perfect timing.
How about sitting in for Chad just for tonight?
Why? Just broke his arm.
And in one night,
That's too fast, Guy. Slow down! Guy, slow down!
Guy Patterson is going to take The Wonders from garage
I almost slugged some girl. She had her eye on my Jimmy.
to greatness.
Here's somebody I want you to meet. Mr. White is with Playtone Records.
That thing you do, is snappy. We'd like to release it.
We'd be on tour?
Well, Mama, your son who loves you just left us in the lurch. Darlene, you just got promoted.
You mean you're gonna start paying me?
I didn't say that.
America's own Wonders!
Put that down. That is a very expensive floor display. We bow, and we're off the stage before the applause dies out. It's very important you don't stink today. Hey, I make no guarantees. You guys look great in red. Have I told you that yet?
Come on, pretty baby!
You got the #7 record in the country.
He's got a very pretty girlfriend, doesn't he?
Is it serious,
Very serious. I'm single.
What about the bass player?
You fellas look great in gold. Have I told you that? What about Guy there?
He's amazing.
Amazing.
20th Century Fox presents
This is Mr. White. Are you sleeping? Just calling to tell you to get your patootie down to the television studio. You're going to be on TV tonight.
a story about the time in every life when the hopes you hold on to
Very special, isn't she?
and the dreams you dream
None of this would have happened if you hadn't joined the band.
become that thing you do. That Thing You Do. Written and directed by Tom Hanks.
Look fabulous in the black suits. Have I told you that? Hi. Fabulous in the black suits.
All right, so obviously, as we said, this is my good pick, and I really do love this movie, more so than some of Tom Hanks's other great comedies like Big and You've Got Mail and Splash and The Money Pit. This is one that I have come back to and watched over and over again for a lot of reasons. The music, I think, is really, really good. Really pays tribute to a lot of different styles of early 60s pop music. They wrote all those songs specifically for this movie. And one of the things I love is Tom Hanks, he wrote this, he directed it. He's not the lead. He plays one of the supporting characters. But one of the things he wanted to do as a director was make sure that all of the music imagery in the film was accurate. So they all had to learn to play their instruments so that when you see them playing a certain chord on screen, it matches the chord that that the band is actually playing, and I think that kind of really sells it. There's so many movies that you see people pretending to play instruments, and it obviously looks fake, and none of this looks fake. I think the characters are simple, they're charming. The story is sort of simple and straightforward, but very enjoyable. It really draws you into these characters and carries you along through the enthusiasm of watching them, become pop stars over the course of a summer, basically. I love the fact that the main character, the drummer of this band, whose name is Guy Patterson, is played by Tom Everett Scott, and this was his first real role in film. And I always figured that Tom Hanks hired him because he looks a lot like a young Tom Hanks. He does. And his mannerisms, the way he was directed, the way he acts in this movie reminds me of a young Tom Hanks. And you can almost imagine Tom Hanks writing this part for himself as a 20-year-old man and realizing, well, I can't play this part, but I'm going to go out and hire somebody who can be like me. At the same time, the guitar player in the band, whose name is Lenny, played by Steve Zahn, they have those two characters have really good chemistry together. And Steve Zahn's character really kind of reminds me of a young Peter Scolari, who was Tom Hanks's partner in Bosom Buddies. Which is his, which is a show that I remember when I was a kid. I really loved. And Peter Scolari has a cameo in this movie. Too. And so I feel like I always felt like it was, Tom Hanks sort of saying, this is the movie I would love to make for myself as I was a young actor coming along. And so he kind of, picked these people, and it's just charming. It's fun. It's funny. It's really one of my favorite comedies of all. And that's why I was really sort of surprised when I gave Charles the list of these movies, my picks, and he said, boy, I can't tell which one's ugly because I don't like any of these movies.
Now you know what it feels like to be me, Dr.
Yeah.
What? Step into my life.
Okay, hold on. So it's not that I hate this movie, and I figured if out of all, it was probably going to be your good. But then again, I didn't know how you felt about Joe versus the Volcano. But I like this movie. It's pretty predictable and simple, and that. But that actually kind of works in its favor because it doesn't necessarily go down the road like of the drugs and the sex and all that usually these movies go into, like a depressing musician biopic kind of thing. It keeps it pretty straightforward and simple. I like that Tom Hanks doesn't play the manager like a total sleazeball. He actually he especially seems to care about the drummer and all that. It seems pretty cool, like when he lets him riff at the end and play. But I just think this is kind of like the same thing with Joe vs. Volcano. I think the first half is way better when they're first, gaining popularity, when their songs first played on the radio and the excitement and all that. I love that part. It's just it kind of goes more into the cliche territory when they start going on the touring. And I think it falls apart. And then I don't like the guy breaking the fourth wall at the very end. Like, why? Why does
the very last scene when the sky cap kind of winks at the camera?
Yes, it's like why? And I also don't. Maybe I'm wrong on this. I don't love the chemistry between Liv Tyler and the main guy. Like I really feel like they developed that much at all. It's just kind of like, oh, I'm gonna run out and kiss you. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that, Charles.
So
is there anybody else who
agree with that too.
Doesn't love Liv Tyler that much?
Yeah, I can't stand Liv Tyler in just about everything she's ever been in. So that's me.
Wow. Wait, why? We need to probe this more in depth, I feel like. I love Liv Tyler.
No. I actually
okay, all right.
Sometime around the time I was rewatching this for this podcast, I watched is it Empire Records? And my brother just adores that movie and went on and on and on, and I was like, I really can't stand this movie either, and it's probably because it's the Liv Tyler show. But yeah, I don't know, something about her just rubs me the wrong way, and I can't.
I can see the attraction, like I can see why people like her, but I just don't. Just the airiness of her voice is just like, I don't know. I just feel like she's about to blow away in the wind every time she talks.
This is amazing to me. Wow. Okay.
It's like to level 11 of her like wispiness of, I don't know, her vulnerability.
I can see that she's very tremulous.
Yeah. That's a good word. That's a good one.
Kelly, what is your opinion of this movie?
I really like this movie. I don't think I would have picked it as my good of. I mean, I will always love Sleepless in Seattle and You've Got Mail more. But I do really like. I like it. I think Charles, you were saying it's like simple and straightforward, but I think there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, some movies just need to be lighthearted. It doesn't mean they're devoid of meaning or substance.
No.
I'm not saying you were saying
that. Yeah, no, and I actually think that works in its favor to an extent. I just, to me, that also, it does hold it back from being like, because I think Big had a lot more depth to it, and I think Splash is funnier. So I don't know.
That's fair. But this just has so much heart to it. I feel like, and I do. I mean, I agree with all the things you were saying, Mike. I love the music, and I do think there's a very Tom Hanksiness about Guy, and I really like Liv Tyler. I don't know what you guys are talking about, but
I was going to say though, just in general, Tom Hanks really impresses me with what he's been able to do in Hollywood. Because he's not, he's not your Brad Pitt, super smoldering attractive. He's like the everyman that we all love. Mm-hmm. And he was able to make that transition that Dr. Mike mentioned earlier from being the humor actor to the more drama. And he also has a book of short stories that came out a couple years ago called Common Type. That's actually really good. I would suggest people check it out if you really like Tom Hanks, because he's also really good at writing short stories, which is kind of frustrating for people who are not good at not excelling in one area. And he's like over here juggling all this stuff.
And
I was gonna say he's kind of super talented in everything he touches.
He really is. He is. Yeah, he's. But I would also say he's like one of the last, like, quote unquote great movie stars. Like he reminds me a lot of like a Jimmy Stewart type, where he doesn't.
Yeah.
He can do a wide variety of things. Everybody generally seems to like him. And, he doesn't also seem to get into, like, politics, really. Like, I don't even know his personal politics. He kind of come from that old school of acting like that. So I think that's interesting. I can't think of almost any other actor like that today.
Mm-hmm.
So
I can't either.
I remember years ago at Christmas time, there was a newspaper article sort of saying, if they were to make It's a Wonderful Life today, who would they cast as all these different characters? And the one that they picked to play George Bailey was Tom Hanks. And they talked about how, that everyman quality, that Jimmy Stewart quality. And you could see that. He could just be amazing.
He was really good as Walt Disney, too. If you saw, I forget the title of the movie.
Saving Mr.
Banks.
Yeah, Saving Mr. Banks was really good.
Yeah, he was. So I guess this opens the door for we could do dramatic movies for Tom Hanks, because I was all prepared to defend like some of his other movies today.
That would be so hard.
Well, it would be, and that's also part of the reaction when I said I didn't know which one was your good one, because I didn't realize we were focusing on the comedy. But I was trying to think like his best performance, not necessarily best movie, best performance. I would probably say Castaway.
Yeah,
because of the physical transformation and the fact that he had to carry it with like small amounts of dialogue.
Yeah,
and he had to carry the whole movie. He didn't have anything to play off of except a volleyball.
Because it's kind of like it's almost like a Raging Bull type transformation and that kind of thing. So, favorite movie of his overall, that's hard. Like, I love so many of them. And also, I was gonna ask, do you count like A League of Their Own or Forrest Gump as comedies?
I sort of slotted those as dramas.
Okay.
They're definitely funny, and they're definitely not dramas the way Saving Private Ryan or Philadelphia or Road to Perdition or those really darker dramas are.
Yeah.
But I think A League of Their Own is.
Oh, he was Road to Perdition, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, just if you did Tom Hanks dramas, you'd almost be hard pressed to find any that you considered bad or ugly, because they're all really solid. It is funny to think how many of his movies have been those movies that I've seen dozens of times, between Forrest Gump and Apollo 13, A League of Their Own, and Toy Story movies, and You've Got Mail, and The Money Pit. I mean, just so many movies that I've seen over and over and over again.
Catch Me If You Can.
And quotable moments. Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah. So that may be a fun one to visit in the future, actually. So, because because like I said, my initial standpoint when I was looking at it was like, out of all the Tom Hanks movies, it's like it's gonna be these. So, but having said he switched to comedies, like I don't disagree with your picks on them. I think these are good picks.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, same.
Well, thank you, and thank you guys for having me. It's been fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we got we'll upcoming stuff. You're going to be part of. We should go ahead and announce it. We're going to be doing our 31 Days of Horror in October. I don't know which number we're up to. How many years we've been doing it, but we're doing
6 or 7.
Yeah, so we did a theme last year. We did all the Halloween movies, and they just announced that there's going to be 2 more. It's going to be a trilogy. So that'll be interesting.
Yes.
But this year I decided let's do vampire movies, and there's tons of vampire movies, and it's been for me it's been difficult making the list and narrowing it down. And we're actually going to break our rule this year where we're going to have movies on there that aren't considered horror. To give you a hint, Twilight. That's going to be on the list.
It's horrifying to me, Charles.
Yeah, and so
it's horror. Is it horrible? Does that count?
Yeah. Well, so we will. All of us will be doing reviews for that, including Mike and Micah. But there's so many that are left over that I may do more next year too. We'll see, but we'll see how that goes. But just be prepared for that. We'll try to put the list out in September, and you guys can follow along with us. And I believe this next for August, it's going to be Kelly's pick. Now, I do want to say that I have. No, I'm not cutting you off. Hold on.
He's going to take it away from you.
I'm not.
I'm getting nervous here.
I'm not going to take it away. I will say though that for the next one after that, my pick. I don't know if I'll have to talk with you guys after the fact. I don't know if my pick should go for September or October. So we'll have to figure out who's doing it after Kelly. I don't know. I'll tell you kind of what I'm thinking. But having said that, it is your time next time, Kelly. So okay. What's your pick?
Okay, so
actually, before you do,
jab, kill.
But every time it's happened, though, right? There's been I've been having a baby, so come on.
Yeah. Fine, Charles. I guess that's acceptable. Okay, so don't hurt me. I don't have the picks quite yet. I want to finalize a couple, but I'll tell you the topic.
What the heck? Really? After that?
Kelly.
I know. I just couldn't pick, and I need one more day. So all right. But the topic is going to be neo-noir.
Oh.
So we're going to be talking about some pretty good ones. I'm excited for this. I think it's going to be good. It's going to be really awesome.
I can't even think of would the graphic novel movies, would those count?
If they
Sin
are
City?
of a certain style, I would count Sin City.
City would be noir.
What about Memento?
Mm-hmm.
That's a neo-noir?
Okay. I would say so.
Can you
give LA Confidential?
Yeah.
Can you give the definition of a neo-noir?
Well, I'll pull it up for you. I mean, I can tell you how.
I didn't mean that to be a challenge. I was just wondering, because I'm trying to think of what the cutoff would be. Is it based on a certain year that after this is no longer?
I think after the late 50s, 56, 59, that's typically considered the end of a real noir. Let me see. Okay. Wikipedia cites neo-noir as a revival of the genre of film noir. And then it talks about what noir, applied to crime movies of the 40s and 50s, mostly produced in the United States, which adopted a 1920s, 30s Art Deco visual environment. So, I mean, if a movie kind of harkens back to that time, I think of them as having, they're most often in color, not really black and white, but they have that same aesthetic. It's about the slatted blinds and the grittiness, and it's exposing the seedy underbelly of the city.
Like Dick Tracy.
Yeah, I mean that type of vibe.
Or Brick. Have you seen Brick?
No, but I read a lot about that one in my search. Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah.
On a slight side note, is anybody concerned about when we're going to run out of, we call our age modern, or we call it neo-noir? Doesn't that seem kind of self-centered that, we think right now is the newest version? I don't know.
Well, that's kind of
what are you going to...
It's like modern
What are you going to call
art.
noir after neo-noir?
That's like modern art, right? Doesn't that start? I mean, it's
Yeah. And now we're in postmodern. How can you be postmodern?
I didn't even realize we were
Right.
postmodern.
I don't know.
I thought
Is
we were
modern
still,
a good
current?
question.
Like,
I
how
thought
can
we
you
were
be
still
after
in modern.
current? Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's an interesting question. I don't have a good answer
Well, it
for
seems
that.
like film is moving faster at switching their titles than other art forms.
Yeah.
Because that's all contained within the 20th century. You would probably have film noir and classic noir and neo noir. So.
Mm-hmm. And that neo noir, like that. I mean, if that's the cutoff, the late 50s are the cutoff, and everything after that is considered neo noir. Like a movie from the 60s and a movie made in 2019 could both be considered neo noir, but obviously those might look very, very different still. So I haven't quite figured whether I should narrow the gap and make it post 2000 or from the 60 to 2000 or something like that, just to make a more of an apples to apples comparison. I don't know. But yeah, I'll get those picks to you guys hopefully by the end of the week.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. Woohoo!
I think we're live on Facebook, but are we? we may no longer be recording on Charles' computer.
Charles is gone.
He needs a new laptop or something. What craziness!
Jordan agrees with me. She's commenting on the
Oh, nice.
feed.
I was going to ask y'all. Well, I guess if we're live on Facebook, I won't. I was going to ask where you guys watch these movies.
I
If you
watch a lot of
stream
them
or
on
rent
Prime.
them. Okay. Are they on Prime?
I actually.
These specific ones?
Well, no, just in general, just statistically, the movies we've picked in the past.
Almost everything, in my experience, is on Prime.
Okay.
Really? I rented a lot of. I rented all three of these.
Well, I mean, I rent. Yeah, I mean, I don't exclude renting from Prime. Like
Okay.
usually they're like sometimes
okay.
it's included, but then sometimes it's like $2.99, which.
Or I
is
go.
pretty good.
The movie trading company is really great because you can rent any of their movies for really cheap.
For streaming.
Well, no,
For
just
stream or
no. Just go to the store and pick up a disc. Like there's tons of them all over the place. So I just usually go and pick up. That's where I rented like 50 Shades of Grey and all that.
Cool.
I think I don't even know. I had a whole bunch of weird movies, like the 50 Shades of Grey movies and all these other ones, and it's probably like a weird.
You went in with a trench coat.
Yes.
These are for a friend.
Just holding them.
Yeah. All right.
I have a bottle of Old Harper.
Yeah. Fun weekend. All right. Cool. Well, I think that's pretty much the end of this. You guys got anything else you want to say about Tom Hanks?
It's a really elegant ending we've done.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Do your
You can
outro.
check us out.
Have you already done the outro? Did I miss it?
No.
Okay.
If we ever make T-shirts, they just use it. You can check us out.
Yeah. ...
But on that note, you can actually check us out at itsjustawesome.com and on Twitter and iTunes podcast at Good Bad Podcast, all one word. I almost did it perfectly again.
Amazing.
I'm not saying anything.
Good Bad Podcast, all one word. Twitter, iTunes.
Yes.
Tom Hanks.
Harry Potter.
What does your shirt say, Charles? The good. I just see the good.
It's the good, the bad, and the Cerberus.
Nice.
So yeah.
Oh.
And then I have the little fancy Travis cup here. Yeah. Bonk.
Very cute.
Yeah, I love these cups actually. The metal.
Vacuum sealed.
Yes, so it keeps it cool and warm.
Yep.
I have a metal cup with nothing on it. It's plain.
Boo.
Boo.
I have just this glass filled with.
Well, it's Harry Potter's birthday. What are you gonna do? So
I have a textured gray smoke water, ice water. While we're all sharing
are all
our
of us
cup.
drinking water?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, we're healthy.
Well, once again, thank you guys for having me on. It was a lot of fun as always.
Yeah, and we'll be doing the 31 Days of Horror soon with you. So Because you said you haven't seen the Hammer Dracula movie, so that'll be cool.
I have not. I have not seen any of the movies that I picked to do, so I'm looking forward to it.
Cool.
Awesome.
There's some doozies on there. All right. All right, guys. Well, have a good one then.
Yeah. See you next time.
Bye.